Right. Take it Tooblack. I didn't finish the policy one. I got cut off for whatever reason, so we're gonna carry on with this. And we were talking about how to construct your letter of claim. So headings, because it's legal fiction, it's going to be the conman and contacts. You're going to put dates on it. You're going to put reference. You're going to put your name or the name of whoever you're presenting for. You're going to put your address, national insurance number for exemption, and the date of birth, of incorporation, custody record also. Letter of claim as a heading. You're going to write down the circumstances of the incident. So just explain what happened. And then you're going to give the reasons why you're alleging fault. Alright? Now, we were here when you get cut off. So once you've done that, it becomes that in light of the above, you feel that you have a good case against the chief conman of whichever, this one here you could put, whichever conmanery they're operating out of, for damages for the conduct of officers acting in the purported performance of their functions, right? This is the wording that you want. Alright? What you do is you're claiming damages for the conduct of officers acting in the purported performance of their police functions. Why is it purported? Why is it purported? I wonder if I can pull up my other thing. What was it again? I won't find it now. Hang on a second. One sec, ladies and gentlemen. Little boys and girls, go sit in the corner while I look for this. Yeah. Where are you? Come on. Give me. Come to me. Come to daddy. Here we are. Right. Now, since we live in a fictitious world and a real world at the same time, you have powers and duty. Powers are discretionary, privilege. Duties are obligations, right? Now, the chief conman's boys, they're only meant to perform their duties, okay? However, when they arrest you under a power, which is an act or a statute, they are doing something called purporting to perform their policy functions. So that's your wording. So you make claims for damages, okay, rising out of the conduct of officers acting in the purported performance of their police functions. Right? They're not doing what they took an oath to do. They're doing their own things for commercial gain. Right? And they're doing all these things for commercial gain under the chief conman's direction and control. Right? And you want damages for assault and battery, false imprisonment, and malicious prosecution. Assault and battery. Assault is when somebody causes you apprehension and fear. They don't have to touch you. They just will show up. That's assault. You don't want to see these people. You don't want to see these boys in black everywhere you go. Because it's not like in the old days when we'd see, what do you call the Bobby on the beat? And you'd speak to him. And you have a chat and yeah, that's real. And now you have these clowns who nobody knows who they are. And we don't want to see them. As soon as they show up, we know there is going to be problems. They bring trouble. So as soon as you see them, that's assault. If they put their hands on you, that's battery. So the wording is common assault and battery, if you're going to sue them outside under the common law. But this is statutory. This particular styling or wording is statutory. False imprisonment is just that. should be wrongful detention, because it's wrongful, false, commercial. Right, false imprisonment and malicious prosecution. Now they're prosecuting maliciously because it's a discretion, and it's a power, it's a privilege. They're not prosecuting you because you've caused harm and injury to anyone. They're prosecuting you for commercial gain, and that's malicious. Now, carry on. Now we note that it is for the policy enforcers to justify both the arrest and the detention, failing which any claim for false imprisonment will succeed. And you can add the assault and battery here. Now, this one you need to modify and adapt so that it suits your own individual circumstances. Our client suffered acute dizziness at the time of the assault. He lost a tooth. He had a 6-centimeter laceration, blah blah blah. Whatever. The injuries took 6 weeks to resolve. The injuries have not resolved. The injuries will take forever to resolve. The psychological injuries, so they should be paying you forever. Right. So you also put, if they detain you longer than you think you should be detained, you put it in there. And you could also seek aggravated and exemplary damages. These are extra or plus or on top of the damages that you're seeking. Exemplary damages and aggravated damages result from conduct that is so bad that it requires special punishment by the courts. That's why you ask for exemplary damages. Okay. So, now, this is where you start your process properly now in the fictitious world by putting this sort of wording in it. At this stage of my inquiry, my mouse just moved. At this stage of our inquiries, we expect the documents contained in the enclosed schedule to be relevant to this action. So you're going to attach the documents that you want them to preserve, because you're going to rely on those documents as evidence. Ideally they should, but for anyone who's been dealing with these morons lately, you know that they don't, and they hide documents everywhere. They have no transparency, and they cover for each other. They're little boys and girls running around hiding things because they don't want to lose their job, you see, because they've been exercising their powers outside their limitation. So they hide things, right? So in this document, when you make your claims, you ask them for specific documents to be preserved, right? Now, please treat this, not his, this. I'm too lazy to reach my keyboard, so I'm going to do what a lazy guy does, is if I can copy it, you see that? It's taking longer than stretching over and, there you go, stretching over and pressing it on the keyboard. But right now I'm irie, so I can't be bothered if you stretch up there and try and do this thing. Right, where are we? Now, please treat this letter as a request to maintain and preserve all documentation which may be of relevance to this claim. Okay? So, anything that you think is going to be relevant, ask him to preserve it. Now, please confirm the identity of the insurers. So that's the insurer for the police. Okay? So you need to know who insures them for their actions. Whether they're insured to uphold the common law by the Home Office, presumably. Or do they hold private bonds so that they can perform summary functions or summary processes? So that's what's required. For them to do summary processes, that's individual, policy enforcers are required by law to hold a bond. Because this is commerce. They're using their power, discretion, and privilege for commercial gain. So they're required by law to have a private bond. Okay? So before you do business with our boys, make sure they're insured such that if they ever cause you unwittingly, even if they ever cause you injury, loss, or damage, then you have a remedy. Alright? Now please know that the insurers will need to see this letter as soon as possible, and it may affect your insurance cover if you do not send them this letter. You can clean the language up, but the point is, a copy of this letter, you need to make 2 copies. One for the con man and one for their insurers, because they're the ones who pay out when these people use their powers instead of acting by duty. Alright? So we are instructed to ask you to treat this letter as the official complaint in this matter pursuant to Part 2, Schedule 3 of PRA 2002. This is old for us now. I wouldn't word it that way, because this is legal fiction wording, so you'd probably be able to use it in those venues and get away with it. But writing in English would not read like that at all. It'll read very differently. But the point you're trying to make is that this is your official claim in this matter, or complaint pursuant to Part 2 and Schedule 3 of that Act. And then give them the time to respond. 21 days is good, always. And then we go down to, this is the list of schedule of documents that you want them to preserve. Because if they preserve this, if there is no injured party, they won't be able to sustain their claim. Right? Now, what you want, number 1, is general things. Logs of radio messages to and from the officers, right? Any emergency 911 logs, okay? The incident arrest report. This is a pocketbook, notebook entries by the arresting officer and his buddy. There's always 2, so they have to concur. They have to concur. They have to be similar. They cannot have 2 different stories. So what you'll find is one of them is going to lose his, or he won't write his, so that they cannot be contradicted. But ideally, both officers should keep a record in their notebooks. So we always ask for notebook entries, and they never produced them. What else? The original Section 9 statements made for the purpose of a criminal trial or otherwise. There you go. Section 9 statements. Though we want to get into Section 9 right now, but once you see the document, you'll see what it is. All right? It's going to have the list of whoever the witnesses will be and the statements and what these guys will be relying on. Computer-aided dispatch printout, computer records, plans and maps relating to the criminal investigation, right? Previous convictions, cautions of the proposed claimant. So if they've ever arrested you before, if there's any cautions that they have on record, you have a right to see all this stuff. So once you see all this stuff, then you can strategize of how you're going to kick their ass. All right? Now, more importantly is number 11. You want a discipline record of the officers concerned. Because some of these guys, they have, what do you call it? They're habitual repeat offenders. They're habitual criminals. They're repeat offenders. So you want to see if somebody's had 10 similar claims or complaints made against them and they're still holding the job, then what the heck is going on? So you want to see the discipline, criminal records of the officers concerned, discipline records of the officers concerned, records concerning any upheld complaints against any of the officers concerned. You see, so you need to know who you're dealing with. Those need to go in, right? And then at the station, you're going to want what they call a custody record or custody suite record. That'll be the video and the audio of them dealing with you in their place of business, trying to get you into an implied agreement called a charge, right? If they touch you, any medical records that are kept at a station, if they use force, right? Because normally they tell you, oh, we're going to take your prints and pictures now, and you're going to steal your DNA also. They should not do that before you've been convicted by a jury of a criminal offense, period. But what they're doing is they're harvesting people's DNA and people's prints. That's what all they're doing. So they're going to arrest you for no reason, take you to the station, take your DNA, then let you go the next day and keep that on record. So they can do their research on DNA. That's the only reason. So if you're somebody's trying to get your DNA before you go into trial, tell them this: I wish to exercise my right to presumption of innocence. So yeah, if you touch me, I'm going to sue you for assault, because you haven't been tried by any court of law, so that somebody can take your photographs. So what they do is they threaten you that if you don't give us your your photographs and your fingerprints and the DNA willingly, we're going to beat you up for it. So use of force report. So every time they attack somebody, they have to fill in a use of force report. So look into that and why they had to use force when he told them, you do not consent to your DNA being taken. You don't want to do business with them. If they take your DNA, they're going to have to pay for it. And the best thing for them to do is to F off. Now, in relation to the prosecution, if it's reached a prosecution stage, this is something they never have. And we'll explain to you why. This thing here is called the original charge sheet, or the original charging sheet. They never have it. Why? Because the original charging sheet is what's called valid cause in court. It requires for a living man to write a statement and sign it, that they have first-hand knowledge of the information they're talking about. The charge sheet is a made-up charge for commercial reasons. It never exists because nobody ever signs it. All right, so in relation to any prosecution, you need to see the charge sheet. If it's an indictment whereby you've caused injury and harm, it's going to be there. If it's a fictitious flipping traffic offense or some stupid harassment charge or some bullshit, the charge sheet is going to vanish and you'll never ever see it. All right? Prosecution statements, crime arrest investigation reports, communication with the Koch prosecution services and the Koch prosecution services summary of the criminal trial of clerics, notes of evidence. All right? Now the cleric is the guy who runs the courtroom. He's the biggest crook. There's the people who run this. We're talking about magicians, by the way. These are proceedings in magicians' court, which is not a real court. It's a court for it's a kindergarten court, okay, for little kids to go and play around, pretending to be judges and solicitors, they call themselves. That's what is going on in the magician's court. A bunch of idiots running around pretending to be something they're not. Right? So there you go. That is your claim. I hope that's clear. It's a sample of how to draft a letter of claim. So headings, details, letter of claim, circumstances, reason why you're alleging fault. Then explain to them that in light of the above, you're claiming damages for the conduct of officers acting in the purported performance of their police functions. That's the wording, purported performance of their police functions, because they are not performing in accordance with the oath. They're making things up and trying to make money. What they're doing is they're harvesting people's Citus trust accounts, okay? What used to be called the fideicommissory. Fideicommissory, those ones, trusts, secret trusts, okay? Yeah, so I think that's pretty straightforward. Was that it? Yep. But use the numbers. If you're going to play the League of Fiction game, you need to put these numbers in, because these people don't function, like I said before, by any logic. You need to put in commands and orders. You're dealing with automaton. Okay? So you have to say, according to section 1 of the, for instance, schedule 3, part 4, section 5, 6, 7 of the Breathing Act, you can breathe in and out now, and then they'll breathe. Otherwise, they'll suffocate to death. These are the kind of people we're talking about. Automaton. Okay? So according to this act, please piss off. If you don't say that, just piss off. He won't piss off. So you got to put the act in for him to piss off. It's stupid. But you identify who you have to deal with in this manner by the way they dress. So this is who they are. Right? That's who they are. And they present themselves in various ways. Okay? But what you're looking for is a symbolism. It's symbolism. It's nothing to do with anything else. Nothing to do with well, it's always a deception, because what's in your face is not there. How else would you put it? The biggest lie the devil ever pulled on the people was in convincing them that he is God. All right? And how does he do that? By giving you two faces. But the symbols are there. If you don't see the symbols, you don't see the symbols. We see. Put it like this. Once upon a time, there's a man called the Bobby on the Beat. And hang on a second, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody at the window. Over there. Allez, get key. Are you locked out? Hang on. Yeah. Right, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just doing something. Where was I? Right, here we are. Now, the Bobby on the Beat used to represent this, okay? The guys behind you, they represent that. That's symbolism. Right? Also, oh, you can't see that. Sorry, it's a light behind it. But, oh, somebody's supposed to come in. Yeah, just open it. 16, the other key. Right, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave you because I have somebody coming in. But the point is that you want to look out for those symbols and that flag. Alright? Mr. Tooblack signing off. And that's how it is. Yeah, man. You just coming back now?